Well, today's the big day. Today I mount the cage to the tail cone. My dad's coming over to help me. He's due here soon. I've spent some time cleaning up the bench, getting everything organized, getting everything clean. I don't want anything cluttering my workspace because that clutters my mind. I've got these areas primed in the front. I have marked the table where the tail cone would sit perfectly centered on the table. Back here, I've clamped some blocks just to keep it from moving left to right there. I want to fix this to the table as good as possible. My bench is level. I've confirmed that the tail cone is also level at the front station, all the way level back to the rear station. So right now the tail cone is set in a really good position and it's ready to take the cage. I've got the cage over here. I need to pull off the boot cowl. I've been doing some boot cowl work to it. I need to get all that off, get the firewall off, and just get it down to a raw cage. Check the fit, check the measurements, check the fit and measurements again and again, and then drill. All right, we got the fuselage cage brought up to the tail cone here. And what I ended up doing here was I just clamped some old extrusions I had just to kind of keep this thing from moving left to right on me. That I think should be good enough. We'll see when I get to putting this in place if I need to change that. But I think we're ready now to slide this cage up to it, get this thing shimmed up, and start taking some measurements. Got the cage mounted up to the tail cone. Preliminary fit here. It's nice and flush against the skins down there on both sides. We've got a 4x4 block up here right now, and we're now going to get ready to check this angle between the firewall tube and the longeron. So I've got that set. I've got it at 0. Now I'll come over here. And I have 89.2. I need to have 88.9 plus or minus 0.2. So I'll make some adjustments here. All right, so here I've got it set 88.9 on this longeron in reference to this tube here. And what ended up being was some 4x4s, pretty much right under where the landing gear, if you're a tail dragger, where the landing gear will go on both sides. Got me that. Eddie says, don't worry about checking the other side against the other longeron, but I'll do it anyway, just for the hell of it. I'm not quite getting close enough. I want to get a little bit closer here. And I am rubbing my longerons, or my stringers are rubbing that tube, and I don't want that happening. So I'm gonna pull this forward. At least we kind of know where we need to be with those blocks. I'm gonna pull this forward. I'm gonna get in there and I'm gonna trim the very ends of those stringers by about 3/32 of an inch or so. All right, I got these trimmed back. I trimmed them back about 3/32 of an inch, filed them down. I think that's gonna get me the clearance I need. We'll bring the cage back up to it and we'll have a look. Okay, so after a little bit of fiddling back and forth, both sides, what we landed on is I've got 89.05 on this side, which is within my 88.9 plus or minus 0.2. And on the other side, I'm at 88.7, which is 0.2 under. So I'm kind of splitting the difference, I guess is what I'm doing, rather than picking a side. If I picked this side and made it 88.9, the other side was outside of the 88.9 plus or minus 2. So I just kind of split the difference. And I know in the video, Eddie says, don't worry about the other side, but I figured, well, if I split the difference, I can't go wrong. So That's what we have there. I have clearance on my stringers. Nothing's touching there. I've got, now these aren't set yet because we still have to position left and right the fuselage cage, but I've got a heavy 8 there. We've got a little more space over there, but like I say, we're gonna clamp this aluminum extrusion to the front of the fuselage, and I'm gonna start triangulating back to the tail cone and getting my left to right set now. Okay, I've got this extrusion clamped up here. We've got equal dimensions hanging off the sides, 18 and 3/16 in this case. I've also got it level, and it's clamped to the firewall there securely. Incidentally, this is an extrusion. You can get these for pretty cheap. This is a concrete screed, and they make great straight edges for stuff like this. I got it on Amazon. It's a 6-footer. So now what we're gonna do is, we've got our tape measure strung in there. We're gonna stretch it out to one corner, take a measurement, come over here, take a measurement, and we're gonna start seeing where we're at with our longitudinal straightness here. I am 194 and 15/16.
Okay. All right, you're marked.
195. So I'm a 16th long. We need to
I mean, by just a bump.
just a bump. Yep, exactly.
So they're dead on.
Dead on.
I like it.
So now, we're gonna make sure we don't bump anything.
Yep.
All right, we struck our measurements. We had to make one small tweak. I had to tap the left side of the fuselage back a little bit to get it to turn just a touch. We were off about a 1/16 of an inch. Also, I found that this was extending out too long. Tape measure was having to take a bend after that, where the cage ends. So I just kind of sighted down where I could see I get a clear path, and I made a mark here and made the same mark over there. So that's what we use for our reference marks. We came straight back here to a mark I placed on the center of this bulkhead, if you can see that black mark. And we ended up with 194 and 15/16, both sides. So I'm gonna do one more check on our 88.9 degree nominal measurement, and we'll see if we didn't change anything there. We've done one more round of checking. I'm still splitting the difference on my angles between the firewall tube and the longeron here. I'm getting 89.1 here and 88.7 over there. So I'm within tolerance on both sides, and I'm splitting the difference exactly. So this is it. We're ready to drill. Everything is tight here on the bottoms. Pull this in, and I'll get a drill bit in there, and we'll do it. It's another scary part of the build, because once you do this, that's it. But I'm confident we've got everything the way we need it. Here's an interesting thing that I thought I'd check. It's kind of anecdotal because we've already checked all the measurements, but so I'm sitting down here at the tail cone. I had a mark up here on the center, and if I take that and, like a gun sight, I go to this notch in the Station 4 bulkhead. My focus isn't going to really allow you to see this, but see the tab at the very end? If I line all these up, there you go. You can see the tab. It will not focus. Anyways, that tab is the center, is the tab for the winch, for the skylight in the very center of the cage. So for whatever that's worth, you can actually sight down there and you can see everything is perfectly centered. I wouldn't do it that way. Of course, you want to take your measurements, but that just helps me confirm that, yeah, we are definitely straight. I've got this clamped top and bottom onto the gussets. Got some good clamping there. Again, I've checked the angles. Everything is as close to perfect as it's going to be. Okay, we got everything drilled and clecoed. I was a little apprehensive, about doing this, but really it's one of those things where as long as you've done all your measurements and you've double, triple, and quadruple checked, you just go for it. And I'm real happy with it. Everything turned out real nice. Interestingly, on these gussets, I don't know if you'll notice, they have a couple they have like a number 30 in the back, and these are all 40s. Here there was a number 30 here, these were 40s, so I don't know what they do there, but I'm sure these all eventually get opened up to number 30. But I just drilled them what they were and Clecoed them what they were, so that's why these are different. But everything is in there, everything is nice and rigid. I kind of moved the fuselage, it's all one now, so glad that's over. And now I can start working on things that it's going to take to get the top tail cone skin in. But before I do that, of course, that means running wires in for I've got a beacon I'm putting up in the tail on the vertical. I've got antenna wires. I've got ELT is going to mount somewhere. I'm not sure if it's going to mount in here or here, but I've got some avionics things I need to do. So I'm going to start getting those put together, and then I can put this top tail cone skin on. And at that point, then I can start rotating this thing how I need to start finishing up things like the bottom skin in here. So little by little, but the mating of the cage to the tail cone went really well. I would say if you're at this stage, it's probably normal to be apprehensive about it, but if you just follow the manual, watch a couple YouTube videos, and just do it, you'll be fine. Now that I've got the cage mounted to the tail cone, I'm gonna work on the middle longeron supports. So they have you cut some longeron material to 19 inches, and it's gonna end up getting riveted up underneath the longeron. So it effectively creates like a U channel section, and it gets riveted from the top down. And you can see the rivet hole spacing here is gonna be a 2-inch spacing with a 1/2 inch edge clearance. So I think the way to approach that is I'll cut these, but I will do I'll mark out my holes here on the longeron, drill those, then set the support piece up in here and match drill through this. Because I don't want to run into a situation where I drill these holes, and you can see if you're not careful, you'll start to hit this radius here, and I don't want to have it sitting too far in and I can't get the holes to line up. So I'll drill the middle longeron, set the stiffener up right up to that radius, inside radius there, then match drill through that. And that way I know I've got parts that are fitting tightly together and I don't have a situation where this edge is riding up on that radius. So what I've done is I've come in a 1/2 inch here, I've placed a mark, I've center punched that. I've come back, well, this line here is the 19, that's where the support's gonna end. So I came in a 1/2, marked that and center punched it. Now I didn't put it exactly centered in the width of the longeron. I actually favored about a 1/16 of an inch this way, and that's because to take up the difference for the 1/16 inch of this leg of the angle that goes down. So it doesn't look like it's centered from the top, but from underneath, when I pop through, it would be centered in the material left underneath, if that makes sense. And what I found is with my rivet hole spacer here, if I put one in the end and I put one in the last to the end right there, that gets me exactly a 2-inch hole spacing if I take every other hole. So I'm at 4 inches there. If I come over 2 inches, that's 6, and I'm right there. So I'll drill this out here and here. I'll Cleco those in, mark those holes, drill those. Got all those drilled. Got my piece here. I've already set my piece in here and found where I wanted to locate this hole, and I've drilled it. So now what I'll do is I will Cleco this in place, and then I'll swing this one over to where I get the fit that I like, and I'll drill this, and I'll Cleco that. Now, I can come in here and transfer drill all those. Those are all in there. That can be taken apart and deburred now. This is what you have on the inside. You can see it kind of creates a U-channel section here. Manual says it doesn't get riveted until later, so I won't do any riveting. There's a double star here, double asterisk, and riveted during aft baggage installation. So I'll hold off on that. I will go ahead and duplicate what I did here over on that side. Now I'm going to fabricate the stiffener angle that goes on the lower longeron, and it's this piece here, also 19 inches in length. Now this one they have your radius, the outside corner, so that it doesn't interfere with the existing radius here and the gusset. So I've got these cut already. I've got one here, and I've got another one somewhere. So what I'll do is I'll just clamp this to my table here, take my die grinder, and bevel that, or radius that outside edge. So I've got something here I'm not quite sure about. Here's my support piece, and they say that it goes on this side of the gusset, and then they say to clamp it tightly against the longeron there. But what you can see is you end up with a gap there, which slowly tapers to nothing back here. And that can't be right, because when you rivet through here, you don't want open air that you're riveting through. You could probably clamp this and get it to contact by about the third or fourth rivet down. But what about all that right there? That doesn't seem right to me. Normally what I would do in cases like this is I would have whatever this thickness is, I would have a spacer strip that I would run all the way down and space that out. And then this could sit parallel and everything would drill through and rivet through that. So I'm not sure what I'm gonna do about that yet. It just doesn't seem right to me. So I looked at some other YouTuber builder videos, and all of the ones I saw, they were able to put their support outside of the gusset. I can't do that. There's just no way. You can see these holes in the skin wouldn't line up. So it's possible that my gusset here is welded in a slightly more outboard location than other previous builders. Maybe that's a change they've made in the frame, I don't know. So I am gonna have to put my support, I'm gonna have to sandwich the gusset in there, which means I do have that issue with the gap here. So I've decided what I'm gonna do. The manual just says to squeeze it, which I could do, but like I say, I'll end up with about 2 or 3 rivet holes here where there's a little bit of an air gap in there. I just don't like that, so I'm falling back on the way I've always done things like this, where I'm gonna add this strip. This strip is the same thickness as the gusset, and I'm gonna add that for the full length down to the end of the gusset, right there, and I'm just gonna rivet, I'm gonna sandwich all this together. To me, that just seems like a much better way to do it than to be flexing this support and having this air gap for these 3 holes here. I just don't like it. So now that I've decided that's what I'm gonna do, the next step is to go ahead and put that spacer in there. I have it inserted. I've got the floor support installed, the angled floor support here. It is sandwiched, the little flange, the lower flange of that is sandwiched underneath the longeron support. So at this point, I could go ahead and match drill these holes through here into the support here, which is what I'll do now. I've match drilled through the side, through the skin, through the lower longeron, into my spacer, into the stiffener. Let me go over here and you'll get a better look at what's going on. There's my gusset. The gusset ends, my spacer picks up, carries that distance all the way down. And I've match drilled everything in there, deburred it, put it back together. Now I need to match drill up from the bottom. I got both sides done the same way. Got my spacer strip in there. Everything's match drilled from the side. I haven't match drilled up from the bottom yet. That works. I would have preferred to have been able to put the support on the outside and not sandwich the gusset in there like most everybody I think is doing, but for whatever reason, mine just wasn't gonna work. So that was my solution. I'm happy with it. I think it's gonna be fine. Now I'm going to do the Tailcone spacer strips. So they say to cut some strips to these lengths listed here in the text manual. And this is a detail showing how those are installed. This is the material here. It's just some strips. And that's gonna go around here. For sure these areas here, and presumably once I get the tail cones, the top skin up, I guess it probably goes around there as well. Here's one of the strips for the lower side. I've already got this one inserted. The lower one fits a 1/4 inch. The aft edge of it is a 1/4 inch past the tab, according to the drawings. So that's where I've got those set there. 1/4 inch past the tabs, slipped in there. And I'll fit, well, that'll get match drilled now. And then I'll fit this one here on the right side. Now that I got my spacer strips in, I've got the left or the right side one in here, left one over there. I've located where these panels go, these floor supports. So that being the case, I can come in now and match drill from the bottom up through that support, also through the longeron support, the angle, and then also through the floor support. Got those match drilled and clecoed. I've actually already took them apart, deburred everything. So that's all cleaned up and good. Now that I know where this bottom skin, that it's gonna be, you know, where it's supposed to be, now that these holes are drilled in the bottom, I can go ahead and place this bottom strip in here. Goes between the skin and the tabs. And this one, they say 3/8 of an inch past the tab. So I need to move it over to about right there. I'll need to do that all the way down. But I'll go ahead and set that in place, match drill that. Also, just an FYI, so you'll notice I slid the cage back and the joint of the tail cone to the cage is aft of the table here. So it's not, the cage is not supported. Sorry, the tail cone is not supported on the forward edge, except for the fact that I put a material support in here, which is important because I had to take these out to get everything disassembled in there and deburred. And without this cage tail cone supported, run the risk of putting all the load on these tabs and these up here, and you could really start to tweak things potentially. So I made sure I put a lift in there, set that up, supported that while I have this apart and deburring. So I guess just an FYI, just kind of got to be careful here because you're only clecoing the tail cone to the cage, and I guess, you know, I suppose if you weren't careful, you could do some damage here. So I don't know, just be cautious. Manual is calling for setting this down on the Station 4 bulkhead and drilling and putting a rivet in here, both sides. But I'm going to hold off on that because these get nut plates and I want to be able to flex this up out of the way and get my nut plates installed there and there. So We'll look at the manual and see which nut plates go here. Oh, I guess I'll do these in the middle too, because we're kind of getting at that point here where we're starting to work on the floorboard, so I may as well start kind of looking and seeing what's happening in other areas. Don't want to go down the road too far and make it harder to do something later. And I didn't see anywhere where the manual called out for putting these nut plates in yet, unless I missed it. But I think it's smart to do that now. Okay, I got these nut plates in. I looked in the manual. Those are 832s. So I got all 4 of those riveted in place. I feel like it's safe now for me to go ahead and lay this down against the bulkhead. I guess I'll just kind of go to where it rests there. Let me see if I can get a better angle here. I'll just kind of bring it down. I mean, it's got quite a bit of movement there, but I think if I just bring it to where it's flat, put a hole right there, rivet it, it should be good to go. Got those both in there. That worked out fine. I'm kind of at a point here where before I start doing any more work in the baggage here, I really think I need to do the top skins here. Once I at least fit them and get them cleat coat in place. Once I've got that done, I'll take them off and then I can start working in the baggage area here. You've seen the ELT's been in here for the last few shots. I'm trying to decide where I want to mount that. Probably it's going to go back here somewhere. I've got some wiring I want to do, putting a beacon up on the tail. I've got an antenna back here for my ADSB, or I'm sorry, this will be my transponder antenna. ADSB will be up there, but what I'm getting at is I've got work to do yet in here, and I don't want the skins on. But before I do any fitting of skins and stuff, I feel like I don't know, I feel like I just want to get the top skins at least fit. So that's going to be my focus next. I think now is a good time to end. It's a good stopping point. And then what I'll do is I'll have a part where I show the top skin fitment, window supports. I mean, there's a lot to do yet from this middle longeron up. So, and then from there, it'll just be detail work in the tail cone, like I say, fitting ELT and other things, then baggage and so on. And I'll probably break those out into, I'll kind of group up tasks like that and make episodes for that. It's kind of hard for me to figure out where to end videos because there's just so much going on, but I'll just group things together and kind of do what makes sense. Thanks for watching. I appreciate it. Like and subscribe. Please comment if you have any comments. I'd love to hear them, love to read them. I reply back to them. Thanks again, and we'll see you on the next one.